One protected area you may have never heard of, but is right in our backyard, is Larimer County's Red Mountain Open Space, located just an hour north of Fort Collins. It is one of the most isolated properties managed by Larimer County, offering solitude, canyon, and sagebrush landscape, as well as cultural, historic, and social recreation opportunities. This protected area is a protected landscape and listed as a Category 5 in the IUCN classification spectrum. The history of this protected area is quite fascinating. Some of the first humans in North America resided here over 12,000 years ago. The land back then was primarily used for tracking game animals, including bison, elk, and bighorn sheep. The Colorado State University Archaeology Center discovered obsidian tools, including spearheads and jewelry, presumably made by people from Central America, brought here as a primary source of trade. Native people generally followed the herds as the natural progression of seasons continued. Due to effects of Western expansion, no one was technically evicted from this area, although Native people were generally forcibly removed from the area.
The Red Mountain Protected Area was established in 2004 as part of Larimer County's Open Lands Master Plan. However, this establishment was not a simple process, as both the city and county sought public involvement and input in its establishment. Two community forums were held in which 200 citizens were in attendance. The management plan process was introduced, natural and cultural resources and management zoning concepts were presented, and the public's visions, issues, and concerns were identified. Additionally, the agreed-upon management plans were posted on both the city and county's websites in 2007 for a month in order to allow further public review and input. The space was singled out due to its large size and rich biodiversity. Elk and antelope herds migrate through this area each year, and the abundance of food makes it a usable mating ground. Red Mountain is owned and managed by Larimer County Department of Natural Resources, who employs dozens of individuals to upkeep their 50,000 acres of land. The staff is responsible for identifying and addressing threats that face these spaces, and they implement a variety of practices to do so. In the case of human-caused threats, timely intervention is necessary to prevent further damage to the ecosystem. Examples might include trail degradation, littering, and overcrowding. The department strives to facilitate rewarding experiences for its visitors without compromising its conservation initiatives. It is not uncommon for this department to implement management zones to restrict or limit visitor activity in more sensitive or threatened areas. By utilizing the recreational opportunity spectrum, they have restricted the use of motorized vehicles to only paved roads throughout the entire protected area, while allowing non-motorized vehicles such as mountain bikes to be used throughout the park. However, camping is not allowed in Red Mountain, and it is strictly enforced by the department and park rangers. By studying visitor impacts on the park in different zones, the department is able to assess just how effective these management strategies are and to improve where necessary.
There are a number of direct threats being held against this protected area. These threats include, but are not limited to, native trout introduction, invasive species introduction, soil erosion, and wildlife corridor interruption. The direct threat we'll be focusing on within this project is managing ranch use on the protected areas in a sustainable way. This threat, while harmful in itself, has led to a number of other direct threats affecting the area. These include water quality issues due to soil erosion and feces introduction from rangeland practices mostly associated with cattle. This rangeland heritage has also been detrimental to the trail quality and overall visitor satisfaction. This leads to destruction of trails from cows usage, as well as trail blockage, leading to lack of access to trails. This can cause a destruction of rangeland cattle, which is in contrast to the management plan goals of aesthetics, recreation use, and potential destruction of cultural artifacts and importance. While this is an important part of Colorado's history, as well as part of the local economy, it may not be the most practical use of the land and its future.
In order to address the opportunities, constraints, planning issues, and threats, the park developed a management plan which they divided into 5 main components: natural resource management, cultural resource management, Western heritage, outdoor recreation management, and education opportunities. The component that directly manages the threat we are focusing on is the natural resource management component. Management efforts have been successful in that by fencing cattle out of sensitive cultural sites and the trailhead, both cultural and infrastructural resources have been protected as well as improved recreation experiences. Fencing off cattle also leads to the prevention of erosion and overgrazing that is associated with not properly moving cattle across a landscape. Other successful management efforts include talking with current and former landowners discussing sustainable numbers of cattle on the land, charging per head of cattle to generate revenue for resource protection and management, performing land surveys and collecting data on the land, as well as utilizing Larimer County's open land crew to make sure fencing is intact and maintained.